It's finally time I talk about Ozempic. It's been called the not-so-secret miracle weight loss drug of Hollywood elite. It's been rumored to be linked to the Kardashians' recent body transformations and celebrities like Mindy Kaling, and it's been confirmed that it's helped other major players like Elon Musk drop some serious lbs. But some media reports have not been so kind. The Guardian, for example, coined it an eating disorder in an injection, or the Clockwork Orange for junk food, while body-positive activists like Aubrey Gordon see it as society's last-ditch effort to get rid of fat people for good. But regardless of the backlash, it's quickly become one of the hottest hashtags on TikTok. Aside from Botox and maybe Viagra, it seems like Ozempic is now one of the most recognizable pharma brand names of our generation. Most Gen Zs and millennials are now more attuned with Ozempic news than local politics, worldwide disasters, a global pandemic, or the weather in our own backyard. Not surprisingly, the social media buzz alone is now believed to be the lead cause of a shortage in the United States. And this shortage has people fired the up. It honestly feels a little scary to be even talking about this as a straight-sized anti-diet culture dietitian, but I'm finally ready to try to clear the air. Folks, let's talk about Ozempic. Hey everyone, I'm Abbey Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen. Today we'll be discussing the notorious TikTok-endorsed weight loss drug Ozempic and its lesser-known cousins Mounjaro and Wegovy. But first, I want, of course, to put up a key disclaimer here. We're going to be talking about weight loss explicitly and in some cases, extreme weight loss. So please feel free to skip this if it's not supportive to your journey. Also, a huge thank you to Eric Williamson, dietitian and PhD who specializes in sports and weight management. If you're not already following him, check out his Instagram below and get in touch for any one-on-one support that I can personally endorse. Also, friends, please subscribe if you like this video. It really does help me out. And of course, follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Abby's Kitchen. Okay, this is gonna change the game. And by game, I mean my sleep. Because if you've been a long time subby here, you know that getting a good sleep can be a bit of a tricky game for this girl. This is 8 Sleep's pod cover, and it's finally transformed my bed into the perfect sleeping conditions for me. I run very hot, especially at night, while my husband is always complaining that it's too cold. And the pod cover allows us to set the temperature of our bed differently so that we can both be comfortable at the same time. So you can set the temperature between 55 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and obviously, you know, your girl is going right down to the North Pole because that is how I like ye. And it's not just about comfort. This is science, folks. Sleep science shows us that our bodies fall asleep best when our temperature drops 1 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. Then getting into deep REM sleep may require even lower temps. And then when we need to wake up, the temperature should climb. But the pod monitors temperature and adjusts it up and down to keep you in the optimal zone for your bed, your body temperature, and the environment. The pod cover also tracks and collects data while you sleep without you having to wear any kind of uncomfortable wearable device. And you can set your morning wake up as a gentle chest level vibration and a gradual increase in temperature, because obnoxious alarm clocks are so 2019. And I realize this is a higher ticket item, but speaking as an insomniac, I just believe you cannot put a price on really good sleep. We have ample evidence that sleep is one of the most important modifiable factors contributing to health. Mental health, weight management, stress management, immunity, cognitive health, and lower risk of chronic diseases are all linked to better sleep. And their numbers really speak for themselves. Pod sleepers fall asleep 44% faster and get 34% deeper sleeps. Like, that is music to your girl's ears. So if you want to try out the pod cover yourself, check out my link in the description and use my promo code Abby to get $150 off of your order. So first of all, this video has been a long time coming and a much needed follow-up to a now deleted TikTok that I posted back in January of this year. We need to talk about this latest weight loss magic drug that is taking social media and Hollywood by storm. In that video, I attempted to simply give the facts about Ozempic in a quick 60 seconds. I mentioned that it was a diabetes medication being used off-label for weight loss, that there was a shortage now due to its popularity, and what you could expect for weight loss success, monthly price, and also weight regain when you came off the drugs. And while a lot of you got my message, especially those who were the first to watch it, others were upset that it felt like I was insinuating that folks with obesity should be kind of second fiddle to those with diabetes who, according to some authorities, should be prioritized for a coveted dose. That absolutely wasn't my intention, but there really is only so much nuance that I can give in 60 seconds. Hence why I'm now going to tell you in a lot more detail how I actually feel about this new wave of weight loss drugs, and some of you might be shocked with my take. So let's start with some cold, hard facts. First of all, as many of you guys know, Ozempic is not even a medication for weight loss. It's currently only approved for diabetes. But the active ingredient in Ozempic, semaglutide, is also found in a drug that is approved for obesity called Wegovy. Now, when Wegovy demand outdid supply earlier on in this year, doctors started to prescribe Ozempic off-label for weight loss because the active ingredient was the same. But then, like the great toilet paper gate of March 2020, news reports claimed that Ozempic also was becoming hard to get, not only for folks now using it for obesity, but also for those with diabetes who had been taking the drug for years. Now, the final player here is Mounjaro, but the active drug here is something called tirzepatide, which has slightly different properties that I'm going to discuss in a moment. But like Ozempic, at this time of filming at least, it's only approved for diabetes, though it is also being prescribed off-label for obesity. So why the sudden spike in demand with these new age weight loss drugs? Well, probably partially celebrities, partially TikTok testimonials, partially lingering COVID pounds, and mostly the fact they honestly really do work. Before we had semaglutide or tirzepatide, we had a bunch of other weight loss drugs with less than stellar track records. Most resulted in about 5 to 8% weight loss on average, but came with a laundry list of not so sexy side effects like loss of voice, difficulty breathing, anxiety, insomnia, or the dreaded orlistat anal leakage. Not sure I would be okay with my ass leaking to just lose 5%, but hey, everyone's priorities and values will differ. Now, as an upgrade, most studies on semaglutide suggest it results in about 15% loss of body weight when paired with healthy lifestyle interventions like diet and exercise. So that is a pretty dramatic leap in my books. Now, tirzepatide, which is the active ingredient in Mounjaro, is potentially even more promising. And while it hasn't been directly compared to a dose of semaglutide typically provided for weight loss, preliminary evidence suggests that it may result in up to 20 to 25% of body weight loss, possibly even more for some folks. So what are these drugs doing anyway? Well, Wegovy, Ozempic, and Mounjaro are all Glp-1 agonists, aka glucagon-like peptide 1 agonists. The word agonist means it acts similarly to our body's natural hormone, GLP-1, and this hormone has a multitude of benefits. But in short, it helps to slow down food absorption in the stomach so you feel fuller longer. It regulates insulin and blood sugars, and most importantly, it tells the brain that you are full. Now, Mounjaro is not only a GLP-1 agonist, but it's also a GIP agonist, aka glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. Yes, the combo of those two very, very long words seems to have synergistic effects, making Mounjaro more powerful than just a GLP-1 agonist alone. And this is why it seems to be more effective and is cited to overtake the Ozempic and Wegovy craze, though research is still in its infancy. But back to why Ozempic and its cousins are causing rapid weight loss in so many folks. Ultimately, these drugs significantly suppress hunger, and this tends to make achieving a calorie deficit deficit a lot easier. In fact, it's been shown to reduce calorie intake by 35% without changing people's perceived hunger levels in the day. In other words, you can eat a lot less and not feel hungry. And this unique mechanism is arguably the essential key to long-term weight loss success. This drug is essentially suppressing the body's natural compensatory mechanisms that kick into high gear whenever we are put in a calorie deficit. Normally, when we're on a diet, our body fights to maintain body weight homeostasis by increasing our hunger hormones and decreasing satiety hormones in this desperate effort to make us eat more. And as I discussed in my video on weight loss right here, this is one of the many reasons why long-term weight maintenance is really hard. Without medications like Ozempic, the body is programmed to ramp up that appetite with every extra pound of body weight we lose. Some research even suggests that these hunger adaptations persist for years after the diet ends. I mean, we talked about extreme hunger on this channel. This is basically it. Now, aside from the physical hunger, Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro also help to reduce cravings and help people feel more in control with their food intake. Again, this is revolutionary in the weight loss world because typically people who have lost weight experience more cravings and less satisfaction after eating, which in turn can derail long-term efforts. So bottom line, these weight loss drugs are not magic. They still require a calorie deficit to work, but because of the impact on physical satiety and psychological satisfaction, they make obtaining that deficit much, much easier. So those are the facts. But now we gotta touch on the juicy controversies surrounding this drug and the great shortage of 2023. So let's start with the million-dollar question that has rocked people's worlds. Who is worthy of obtaining this drug? Should we be prioritizing folks with a disease like diabetes when people in larger bodies should just be kind of putting in the work at the gym? There's a lot to unpack. You've all seen the horror stories on TikTok and other news outlets from folks who were prescribed Ozempic for diabetes needing to cross state lines just to find a single dose of their life-saving meds. When you imagine the stress and anxiety of being unable to fulfill a prescription because it's going to an unofficial demographic, you could probably appreciate and empathize with the anger, frustration, and fear. On the flip side, it's worth pointing out that obesity, not unlike diabetes, is also recognized officially as a chronic disease worthy of medical support. And that is done by authorities like Obesity Canada, the Canadian Medical Association, the American Medical Association, and the World Health Organization. So I know that this is in stark opposition to the teachings of HAES, or Health at Every Size, but you guys know by now that I don't personally identify with all aspects of that movement. I do think that for some folks, weight loss may help to support their physical health and their psychological well-being. I also try to follow the science as objectively as possible. And the science tells us that not unlike someone with diabetes needing pharmaceutical support for blood sugar management, many folks with obesity may need medical intervention to override some of the genetic factors responsible for differences in reward response, hunger and fullness cues, and propensity to gain weight in today's environment. Which brings me to the importance of genetics and why some folks may not be able to dramatically shift their set point weight without some form of medical intervention. Weight gain and weight loss capabilities are genetically determined. Some people will naturally experience higher appetite or greater dopamine spikes from food, or lower reward stimulation from exercise, greater relief from stress from overconsumption, a stronger drive to eat when experiencing negative emotions, or lower sense of fullness from calorie consumption alone. Research on twins separated and raised by two different families have found that obesity is actually about 70% genetically determined and only 30% environment. Hence the adage, genetics load the gun and environment pulls the trigger. Likewise, some people are going to experience more negative health outcomes when living with obesity than others. This is not a homogeneous group, so we cannot judge a book by its cover here. Body weight does not equal health outcomes. It is so much more complex than that. And this is not a homogeneous group, so we really do need to look at the individual to determine determine if adding in medication to complement a healthy lifestyle would be right and supportive for them. And it's worth emphasizing that even with medication, the recommendations do still focus on nutrition, exercise, and lifestyle intervention as the first line of defense, both before, during, and of course after medical obesity treatment. So no one here is suggesting that taking a weight loss drug like Ozempic is a free ride. And speaking of free ride, these medications are not without side effects. The most common side effect is nausea, followed by some of the other usual GI suspects. Thankfully, most people report that nausea declines pretty steadily over time, but for a lot of folks, it's completely debilitating, with a lot of users describing being suddenly repulsed by even seeing their favorite foods, and some even report being turned off or filled up too quickly by water, which can potentially put one at risk for dehydration as well. There are also more potentially dangerous side effects like thyroid cancer seen in animal research, plus pancreatitis or gallstones. But not unlike the birth control pill, antidepressants, or even an antibiotic, medicine is all about a risk and benefit analysis. It's all about weighing the potential discomforts or risks with the potential benefits, both immediately and long term. Different people are going to react differently, and for some, those risks or discomforts won't outweigh the benefits of the medication. And this is why it's so important to work with your healthcare team to determine if an intervention like this is right for you. Yes, I know I sound like these sped up disclaimers in a pharmaceutical infomercial right now, but seriously, everyone's experiences will be unique. But let's move along to talk about the elephant in the room. If you started taking Ozempic to lose some weight, do you now need to stay on it for life? Well, if you want to keep the weight off for life, probably yes. Research suggests that 1 year after coming off of Ozempic or Wegovy, participants gained on average 2/3 of the weight right back. And this really isn't a surprise because, as we established earlier on, the main reason why we see such success with this medication beyond just lifestyle habits is because it helps to counteract the increased appetite associated with weight loss. But if we go off the drug and now we're at a lower body weight, our appetite dramatically rages, not only to its normal pre-drug levels, but maybe even higher as our body fights to get us back to its preferred set point weight. There may be some patients who can slowly wean while maintaining a very strict diet and exercise regimen, but I would expect it to feel like a real struggle after having this pharmaceutical boost. So tell me what you really think, Abby. First of all, I believe in body autonomy. I say it all the time. And I don't think that one chronic disease cohort is more worthy than another of access to a potentially life-saving or life-changing drug. It's really a shame that we need to triage patients or turn getting a prescription into a modern Hunger Games, especially because there's already so much stigma and shame for folks in larger bodies trying to access supportive care. If a medication can help them regain their mobility, metabolic health, happiness, confidence, whatever, I am all here for it. That said, I have a lot of fears. For one, I'm worried that social media and Hollywood culture are positioning these drugs as a fast, easy solution for rapid weight loss. That they're just something you can take when you want to fit into a certain gala dress or for a bikini vacation, and then you can go off it again when you want to have a cheat day with your girls. I also worry that due to shortages and desperation, that people will seek out unregulated compounded cocktails underground. For some completely bogus reasons, generic semaglutide is exempt from normal FDA approval, so a lot of pharmacies and medi spas are now offering their own weight loss cocktails that they compound themselves, often for much cheaper than the brand name. But experts are warning that because it is unregulated and untested, these compounded prescriptions could be ineffective at best and dangerous at worst. So in my books, it's really not worth taking the risk. I also fear that people will see this as a replacement for physical activity and a balanced, nutrient-dense diet. The research suggests that a large proportion of weight lost while taking these medications is lean muscle mass, around 39% of the the weight lost, according to one study. So if we're not supporting the pharmaceutical regimen with a protein-rich diet and resistance exercise, we may potentially be making ourselves more metabolically healthy in one way at the expense of another. And I've been focusing on health here, but not surprisingly, the internet has been focusing on the Ozempic aesthetic, most notoriously the now stigmatized Ozempic face. This is a whole other topic worth unpacking related to ageism, classism, and access. But from a nutritional perspective, I just think it's a good reminder that nutrition really does still matter here. And Ozempic users do need to focus on having a high quality diet to maintain muscle mass with such rapid weight loss. Finally, again, another huge, massive topic that needs a whole other video to unpack. But I am terrified about the long-term implications on general body dysmorphia and what is even considered a normal, healthy weight. I wouldn't have concerns if these drugs were only being used as intended for folks with chronic obesity or diabetes, but when every already slim celebrity and influencer is now another 20 pounds smaller, how are we as a society going to feel about healthy size women like me? Like, is this going to be the new obese of 2025? Of course, on an extreme end, I'm concerned about these drugs being abused in ED communities as like a not so secret weight loss hack. But even without a history of dieting or disordered eating, when we start to only see Ozempic bodies represented in the media, the goalpost for an acceptable body gets further and further away. Okay, obviously this is me going down like a doomsday rabbit hole, and I'm hoping that none of these things occur because I do think that these medications are life-saving for the intended populations. But we all live in a social media echo chamber where the small snippet of the world that we see is typically what we perceive to be fact and true of the world at large. So I just hope that celebrity Ozempic bodies don't become the only official true look of wellness going forward. So in conclusion, I think there is absolutely an important role for medications like Ozempic, specifically for folks with diabetes and for folks with obesity whose weight is putting them at higher risk of health implications and issues, or for whom lifestyle changes alone have not been successful. But this is not to help people drop the last bit of baby weight. This is not to help you fit into your wedding dress that you bought a size too small. This is nutrition medical therapy for a chronic disease intended to be used for life. And even if you do fit the target criteria and demographic, taking Ozempic is not a quick fix invitation to never exercise or eat a vegetable again. Lifestyle support is going to be critical for long-term success and muscle preservation. So I strongly suggest working with a registered dietitian on your journey. If you're seeking out one-on-one support yourself, whether it's for weight loss with or without pharmaceutical support, I strongly recommend Eric Williamson for his one-on-one coaching. You can check him out at unlockedfitnessandnutrition.com and follow him at Unlocked Fitness and Nutrition on Instagram and TikTok. I expect the research and recommendations around drugs like Ozempic will quickly grow. I mean, diabetes drugs will be approved for obesity, new competing drugs will be developed, and the price of everything will inevitably fall, making these medications more accessible to the layperson. So I'll be keeping my finger on the pulse for an updated video. In the meantime, if you guys like this video, please be sure to give it the thumbs up, leave me a comment below if you have any questions about these drugs, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye. All right, now I need a snack because I am hungry.